Hey everyone, welcome back. Previous video we were on the design tab setting up the design layout for our game settings window. In this video we're going to start working on the graph, so the scripted functionality behind our game settings. Before we do that, I do want to make a couple quick additional changes to the design layout here. Looking at it in between videos, I did want to make a couple quick changes, so we'll do that real quick. It'll only take a second. So for our vertical box down here under the widget switcher, let's go ahead and set that to horizontally aligned fill. Let's take the text that appears inside of it. We'll set that to center. And then we'll go to our widget switcher and set that to horizontally aligned fill as well, just so it fills out the whole thing. So if we look at it now, it should look like that. We can also take this text and just give it a different look. We'll change this to italic, something like that, just because I want to. So that looks a little bit better. So I just wanted to make those quick changes. All right, let's compile and save everything just in case. And let's hop over to the graph and start working on the graph side of things. And inside of our graph, we do have one node that we already created called Fill Players Window. We'll get to that a little bit later, so I'm going to move that over to the side. And we don't need this event tick, so I'm going to delete that. We do need the event construct, however. And the first thing that we're going to do is initialize our game settings whenever we construct the game settings window. So we're going to need some variables here. So I'm going to create some variables. First variable is going to be called displayed map. And displayed map is going to be a texture 2D. Oh man, I'm all over the place with that typing. Texture 2D reference. Let's go ahead and select that. We'll give this a category. We'll just call it game settings info. I don't think it needs to be replicated, but we'll replicate it just in case. Actually, it does need to be replicated. So we'll call it displayed map. Let's alt drag that in. And let's connect it up. And the default map that we're going to use is Arena 01. So that's going to be the default texture. Now we'll do the map name and the map time. So let's create a couple more variables. I'm just going to Control W on that. And let's call this displayed map time. It's going to be a text variable. So replicated and in-game settings info. Alt drag that in. And we'll initialize that and say 10 is the default. I'm going to select this and Control W, and this is displayed map name. So, alt drag that in, connect that up, and this is going to be Arena 01. So this is just setting the default information. So I'm going to add a comment around this and say setting default info upon event construct. So that's all that's doing. Next, we need to provide a way for our players to toggle back and forth between the map settings. So let's go ahead and do that. What buttons are those? Let's hop to the designer real quick. Take a look at this and expand that, expand that. Expand this. Toggle left and toggle right is what we called it. So let's go to the graph and let's go to toggle left, add an on-clicked. Toggle right, add an on-clicked. And for this, because we only have two maps, this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to add a variable. So Control W on this and just call this map ID. And we're going to change this to an integer. We're also going to need another variable in a second, so I'm going to create another one just to get it out of the way. Control W, we'll call this time ID. We'll need that a little bit later. But for this map ID, I'm going to alt drag that in. Whenever we press left, we're going to be choosing map ID 0, which correlates to Arena 01. So I'm going to copy this and paste this. Whenever we press right, we're going to change the map ID to 1. So that's going to be Arena 02. Now you could do this a different way. We could store this as a variable and use a select or switch on int, etc., kind of like we did our avatars for the different maps that you have. But because we only have two maps, this is how we're going to do it right now. So all we'll do, we'll take our map ID, control drag that in, and we're going to use the switch on int here. Switch on int, add 2 pins, and remove the default by right-clicking. Connect this up, connect this up. So when we are at 0, we're going to take our displayed map, alt drag that in, and it's going to be Arena 01. Our displayed map name is going to be Arena 01 as well. So now I'm going to copy both of these and just change those to Arena 02. Like so. That's all we need to do, toggle between our maps. Fortunately for us, we only have the 2 maps, so it's pretty easy to do. So I'll add a comment around this and say toggle between selected maps and update game settings window. Now I said update game settings window because these values are going to be bound to our settings in here, so you'll see that reflected. Okay, now we're going to toggle between the map times here, and we're going to have a couple different times that we can select from. So for this one, let's go to the designer. What are these called? We didn't rename these, did we? This is also called toggle left and toggle right. We're going to rename these. So we'll say toggle time left. We'll call this one toggle time right. And that's just those buttons inside of here. Just select those to get to those. Okay, so let's set those up. And now we should have toggle time left and toggle time right. So toggle time left, let's add it on clicked. And toggle time right, let's add it on clicked. Move this down. And that time ID variable that we created, we're now going to be setting that. So I'm going to hold Alt, drag that in, connect it up. And we've done something very similar to this before. So I'm going to hold Control, drag this in, drag off of this, hit a minus sign, integer minus integer. So we're subtracting 1 from the value. We could do it like this. Let's see, clamp int, because we don't want to go more than the amount of options that we're going to have available. We could promote this to a variable like we did before when we did our avatars. But for our instances, we're only going to have 3 settings. Well, 4, 0 being 1. So I'm just going to enter a 3 here for now. That's the way we're going to do it. So we'll connect that up, and then we can perform a switch on int. Switch on int. I'm going to add some pins so that we have 0 through 3. Remove the default. Connect this up. And let's take our time ID now. Just drag and drop that on top. And this is going to be the displayed map time. So I'm going to hold Alt, drag this in. 0 is going to be the default of 10 minutes. Again, this has no impact at all on our gameplay right now. It's just for cosmetic settings when we get into our game mode. However, down the road in future videos, we could access this value, but it's just so that we can make some changes and see that reflected. So I'm going to copy this and paste it and paste it and paste it and hook all of these up. And we'll say that we're going to have, say, 15 minutes and 20 minutes and 25. So increments of 5. Something like that. Now we need to do the same thing down here. So let's just copy all this, paste it, connect this to that, connect this to this. And this is going to be a plus now. So let's plus integer, and connect that up. So now we can only cycle between these options here. So with that, let's go ahead and add a comment around this. This comment is going to be toggle between map times and update game settings window. Okay. Up next, we'll do what happens when we return from the game settings window. So we want to return back to, actually, no, we don't need to do that just yet. We'll do the accept first because the back's going to be super, super easy. And it's going to come off the end of this anyway. So we'll do the accept button. So our accept button, let's make sure it's the right one. Should be this one down here, which we've called accept. So we've made some changes. We want to accept those changes. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's add an on-clicked for accept. And what we'll do is right-click, get game mode. We're now going to cast to our lobby game mode. And inside of our lobby game mode, we have a function created called server update game settings. And now we're going to pass these variables through so that they get updated. So we'll take our displayed map, plug that in, our map name, plug that in, our map time. Ooh, good thing I caught that. Let's control, drag that in there. Let's take our map name, plug that in, and then the map ID. Now, if we were doing the time ID, we would have another setting on here that we would pipe through to store. But again, it's just cosmetic here for this particular video series. So with that, that is all we need to do to update our game settings. There's one other thing that we need to do is right-click and say Set Visibility. Set visibility. Let's connect this up. Once we clicked accept, we're going to hide our game settings window, so our self. That's also going to be what we do when we click back. So if we click our back button here, add an on clicked. I'm just going to take this, put it up here, plug it in like so. So whenever we click back, we're not going to do any updating. So we're just going to hide the menu. So that is accept and back functionality. So I'm going to add a comment around this. Accept and back functionality. We'll just say accept updates server game settings, which in turn we set up passes that information to our clients as well. Okay. We do need to handle the settings button and the kick button toggling between our widget switcher here. So toggling between our widget switcher, which we called widget switcher 0. I'm going to rename this too and say toggle displayed widget. Let's click these buttons. What are these buttons called? Yeah, settings buttons. We did do that. Okay, and kick button. So what we'll do here is for our settings button, let's add an on clicked. For our kick button, let's add an on clicked. And all we're going to do is take our toggle display widget now, control drag that in, and switch between the indexes like we've done before. So set active widget index. 0 is the default. So whenever we click setting button, that'll be the default. Copy and paste it. Connect this up. 1 is the kick window. So when we click the kick button, the kick window should appear. That's all we need to do for that. So we can add a comment around this and say switch between settings / kick players. And let's see. We still have this fill players window to do, but I think we're going to come back and do that a little bit later because it requires us to do some setup inside of our player button, so the kick player button that appears. So we're going to come back to this actually. So let's compile and save, and let's close this out. We're going to need to go to the lobby menu now. So our lobby menu widget blueprint, and do some stuff in here. Wait, before we do that, let's go back to our game settings. Did we bind those properties? Sure did not. So I'm glad I thought about that. We need to do some binding in here, so let's go ahead and do that before we go to our lobby. So this one here, this is going to be our displayed map, so let's do that binding. Displayed map. This text down here is going to be the displayed map name, so displayed map name. This is going to be the displayed time. So displayed map time. And let's see, I think that's all we need to do. Let me switch on the widget switcher. Yeah, because we're going to do the kick players a little bit later. So that's all we need to do. We need to make sure that those are bound, otherwise we won't see them. So let's compile and save now. Let's close that out. And now let's go to our lobby menu. And way back in the day, we added our game settings window to the screen. It should be populated with content now. We can do size to content. And that'll pop it up for us. And we can move it somewhere like so. The other thing that we'll probably do, looking at this now, is we'll take our border and make the border darker so that we can't see anything behind it. We'll see how it looks in game, and then maybe as part of fine-tuning we'll fix that. But there's our window. By default, it is set to hidden, so we do need to set up the functionality now for when game settings is clicked. So let's make sure we do that. Look at my notes here, and I'm just go to the graph. And the game settings button. So set game settings is the button. View it. Did we already do this? Oh, we did already do that. So we're good. We should actually work. Sweet. Let's test this out. Let's save that. Let's play. Again, let's see where our anchor is for this too. So our game settings window, let's anchor that to the center. So let's compile, save, let's play. And let's go to our server. Let's host a game. Accept. Let's go to game settings. And it pops up. Game settings, kick player, select map. Should be able to click this and go to Arena 02, which it updates. Should be able to click through these, toggle through some times. We'll say 20 and we'll go to that. Let's go ahead and hit accept. Updates, which is what we wanted. Kick player. Select the player to kicked. Kick doesn't do anything yet. Let's go ahead and let's have a client connect and see what that does. So we'll play again. Host a game. Find a match. Accept. And our client has connected. Server says, okay, I'm going to go into the game settings and change the map and change this to 20. Hit accept. Updates here. And it updates here. So our client now sees those changes that we've made. So again, I can go into game settings, say let's do 25 minutes. Client's like, okay, cool, I see you made that update. We're doing Arena 02. The map's changed, etc. So one more thing we'll test, kick player. Yeah, we didn't do this yet, so because we haven't set up our button for kicking players, etc. So we didn't do that yet, so that's not in there. That'll come a little bit later. In fact, I think we're actually going to do that in the next video. We'll finish off our game settings. Yeah, we'll do that next video. So we're going to pause here. Our game settings is almost done. We'll do the kick player button up next, and then we'll go from there. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you then.